Hello, Grok. This is Gary. We want to do a little conversational back and forth on, let's do 7 issues that are facing our country. And you be the MAGA person asking a middle of the road or liberal questions. And we'll start with number 1. You come up with what you think is the most important one. Now, I will respond, and then you'll respond to my response, and then we'll move on. What do you think?
Got it. Illegal immigration's out of control. Millions pouring across the border, straining our schools, hospitals, and jobs. Why do you think we should keep letting it happen?
Well, I go probably to the most liberal church in the country. And when you really go down to it to deal to people, how much illegal immigration we have, yeah, they say if it's 100,000, well, that's okay. But you bring that number up, then they say no. Well, I myself say we should seal the border and bring people over with dignity. We need this labor. Immigrants are the backbone of this country. Our doctors and our farm workers are just key to keeping this country alive. So let's give everybody amnesty here that qualifies. Let's cut out this ICE stuff, and let's secure the border, and let's get a real ID for everything. I'm done.
You just said seal the border, then immediately pushed amnesty and killing ICE. That sounds like open borders with extra steps. How do we vet millions of people for amnesty without knowing who they are? And why should taxpayers foot the bill for people who broke the law to get here?
Well, you know what? We asked for this because the Republicans want the cheap labor and the Democrats want the votes. We let this ourselves go on. And these people have come over here and done a lot of work. Even though they come here illegally, it's pretty hard to come here legally. So let's seal the border. Let's do what Reagan did and give that amnesty out there. And let's vet these people thoroughly. We've got a lot of data in the United States on these people already.
Reagan's amnesty was supposed to be a one-time deal with real border security that never happened. And now we're dealing with 10 times the numbers. If we've got all this data on them, why didn't we stop them at the border in the first place? And how exactly are you vetting millions thoroughly without massive fraud?
Well, you do have to have good procedures in vetting them. We've done that throughout our history, vetted immigrants to come into this country. We can do it. We're a very strong country. And yes, it happened again because, again, the Democrats want the votes and the Republicans want the cheap labor. So now we got to solve this problem. Bring people over with dignity. Let's solve this problem with ICE by doing amnesty for people that are illegal. If you created serious crimes and you're illegal, you go back. So that's what I say.
So your plan is amnesty for everyone except serious criminals, then seal the border after? But once you grant amnesty, the next wave knows they just gotta wait for the next one. Didn't Reagan's amnesty lead to even more illegal crossings? Why would this time be different?
This time you need to get a national ID card because the border is really hard. It's too long to completely enforce. So even if you do get over here, if you have a national ID card, you can't work anywhere. You can't buy anything. You can't get a license to do anything. But the main thing is you treat these people with dignity because they're the backbone of our economy, especially our food economy in California.
National ID sounds like big government tracking everyone, which a lot of folks on your side hate. And if they're the backbone, why aren't Americans doing those jobs at higher wages? Wouldn't forcing employers to hire legally actually raise wages for citizens instead of subsidizing businesses with cheap illegal labor?
Hey, if you can get Americans to go pick strawberries and work in the watermelon fields and grape fields at 30, 40 an hour, that's fine. But I don't think it's going to happen in the San Joaquin Valley where it gets up to 115 at any price going out there. I think Americans just think they're too good for it. What do you think?
Then raise wages until Americans take the jobs. That's how markets are supposed to work. Why should taxpayers subsidize farms with cheap illegal labor while Americans stay on welfare? If the work's too hard for citizens at $40 an hour, maybe we need robots or better conditions, not open borders.
Well, you forgot one key thing. You know what that is?
Enlighten me. What's that key thing I'm missing?
The price of this produce and food and everything is going to skyrocket. You're going to have $5 apples, $5 oranges, and everything. I don't think the American people would put up with that unless we bring everybody up at the same time. And I have no problem bringing over, putting on tariffs, but just do it logically and slowly so you don't cause super inflation.
Food prices did skyrocket under Biden with record illegal immigration, so that didn't work. Cheap labor didn't keep prices down. It just enriched the farms while wages stagnated for everyone else. Why not let wages rise, automate agriculture like every other industry, and stop importing poverty?
I don't think the problem, I agree with you importing poverty, but you have to have a road up for these people, let them go back and forth. That's what I found. I lived in Fresno in the 80s. Yeah, they were bringing poverty after poverty. But if you make it legal to come in and you have strict enforcement in this country for illegal immigration, like they do in Mexico, you're going to be fine and bring those wages up. But I don't know, do you think the American people have stomach to pay for $5 apple, $10 apples?
We already pay high prices for plenty of things, iPhones, cars, houses, because we value quality and labor. Food's no different. If Americans won't pick apples at $40 an hour, we'll innovate or pay more, like Japan does with its agriculture. Importing millions of low-skill workers just locks in a permanent underclass and drags down wages across the board. Why not prioritize citizens first for once?
I don't think you're going to get anybody at $40 an hour to work out in the fields. Not Americans, not white Americans, not black Americans, no one, zero.
You're probably right that not many will at $40 right now, because illegal labor has kept wages artificially low for decades. But that's the point. Cut off the cheap supply, and either wages rise until people take the jobs, or farms automate, like they did in Australia and Europe. History shows when labor gets scarce, markets adapt. We just never let it get scarce.
Okay, so you're in favor of taking it to the extreme. And what about the retired person that his income doesn't go up? What about somebody who's making only $20 an hour and working really hard and his wages aren't going up? Are you going to have them pay these high prices for food?
Fair point on fixed incomes, but inflation's been hammering everyone already. And illegal immigration adds pressure on housing and services that hurts low-wage workers most. A targeted guest worker program for agriculture, strictly temporary, no path to citizenship, could work without flooding the labor market or creating welfare magnets. What do you think of that middle ground?
I think the middle ground is we have to get, I agree with you on one thing, let's secure the border and everything. And then let's get these people that have been here for at least 2 or 3 years or more, get them vetted. If they vet, they don't have a criminal records, get them in here, treat them correctly, because you know what? That's our fault we had the open border, because I don't know if you've ever lived in these other countries, it's horrible. And you're going to have a lot of pressures to come into this country. So really, it's our fault. And also, you forgot one thing. A lot of it, Trump killed Biden's border program, absolutely gutted it. And that's because he let the asylum go crazy. And people were coming in with asylum using that, and the Congress wouldn't pass a bill to stop that. So that started it. The other thing is, I think Biden was having a lot of mental problems at that time too, and his administration wasn't up to par, kind of like we're seeing now.
Okay. So you were saying though?
I was saying, it's yes. Yeah, I'm still here. It's a pox on both houses on this immigration thing, is because for the asylum, they should have cracked down that long time ago. So both houses are really at fault for the illegal immigration, not just the Democrats. So they all need to get together and solve this problem. And I think in the middle ground is better.
All right, let's call immigration done. Ready for issue number 2?
Let's go this one.
All right, let's do the economy next. Prices for groceries, gas, housing, they're all way higher than they were 5 years ago. Why do you think Bidenomics didn't bring inflation down? And what's your fix for it?
Well, the inflation really kind of happened with a lot of the COVID stuff going on. And I think Biden came out there and tried to reinvigorate the country too fast. That's where some of the inflation, and Biden was not on top of it, really. I mean, that was the main thing. He wasn't really on top of it. Now, he did get inflation down, but, with the tariffs coming in, it's going to even be tougher to keep inflation down. So housing prices, that's a whole nother story to getting housing prices down. California, there's way too much regulation. That's what I'm seeing. And plus, Americans aren't going into these trades. That's the other problem.
So you blame COVID and Biden rushing recovery, but he kept spending trillions after the pandemic was over. How do you square record deficits with bringing prices down? And on housing, yeah, California's regs are insane, but nationwide, we've got zoning and NIMBYism everywhere. What's the middle of the road fix that doesn't just throw more money at it?
I think you let the private enterprise come in and take out the regulations. And I say do smart deregulation. And for like land development, cities, counties need to go in and say, hey, this land, it should be used for housing, change that zoning for it from agriculture. This used to be for commercial, and change it so you don't have all those expenses going up front. And get rid of the California Environmental Quality Act, or at least gut it down to where it's reasonable.
Sounds like we're agreeing on deregulation and fixing zoning. That's actually a solid middle ground approach. Smart deregulation without gutting environmental protections entirely could get housing built faster. On the tariffs, though, you mentioned they'll make inflation tougher. You think Trump's tariff plan is going to spike prices again?
They're already spiking right now. They've all gone up. But the problem is, I don't think he's reporting the inflation. As the inflation I see, like the milk we buy has gone up from like $7.50 to $10 since he's been in here. That's an organic milk that lasts for like 30 days. So I don't even know if they were reporting it right. There's nobody going to tell you that tariffs all of a sudden is not going to cause inflation, because what you're doing, you're coming back and using American labor, American products, which are more expensive. That's going to make the product more expensive. It's going to cause inflation. You can't argue with that. It's happened all the time.
You're right. Tariffs can raise prices short term, but long term, if they bring manufacturing back and we stop shipping trillions overseas every year, doesn't that strengthen the dollar and eventually lower costs? We've run trade deficits for decades. How do you fix that without tariffs or some kind of trade reform?
I think, to me, if you're going to save democracy in this country, you have to boom the economies. And I think tariffs are a tool in doing that. Smart deregulation is another tool in doing that. Smart immigration to get people over here, get the best of the best over here to work with us. And I don't have any problem is cutting welfare for people that are able-bodied and don't want to work.
All right, we're getting somewhere. You want tariffs as a tool, smart deregulation, selective immigration, and cutting welfare for able-bodied folks. That actually sounds pretty close to what a lot of conservatives push. So maybe we're not that far apart on the economy after all. Ready to move to issue number 3?
Yeah, let's try issue number 3, and we'll call it quits because we're doing pretty good.
Fair enough. Issue 3, government spending and the national debt. We're sitting on over $36 trillion in debt. Interest payments are eating up more budget than defense. As a MAGA guy, why do you think we keep spending like there's no tomorrow? And what's your plan to actually cut the deficit instead of just growing it slower?
I think you try to get everybody working so everybody's paying into it. We also try to do smart deregulation. We try to get healthcare costs under control, and we get everybody working. And that means everybody working. Not everybody can be a star on YouTube or a singer. Everybody's got to get out there and work, put their work clothes on. That's the only way it's going to work. And I think we're going to have to raise taxes and cut spending at the same time.
Raising taxes and cutting spending, that's actually the textbook way to reduce deficits. But which taxes would you raise? And where exactly would you cut spending? Defense, entitlements, or something else? Because those are the big 3.
Well, entitlements, I don't. What do you mean by entitlements? Because some of them you pay into, like Social Security. That's not really an entitlement. That's like a savings account.
Entitlements mean mandatory spending. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps. Those are the programs that automatically grow with population and costs. Social Security is funded by payroll taxes, sure, but it's still running huge deficits long term because of demographics. So what's your plan there? Raise the retirement age? Means test it, or what?
I think what you have to do is make sure everybody is paying taxes. And if I'm paying taxes at 18%, I want Bill Gates to pay taxes at 18%.
So you want a flat tax across the board? That's
Well,
actually a pretty conservative idea. But if everyone's paying the same percentage, how do you make up the revenue gap on that $36 trillion debt without gutting defense or entitlements?
well, I don't. Here's the one thing too. If you get everybody working, you don't need so many entitlements. The Social Security is worrisome because doesn't the government actually have borrowed out of Social Security system and they owe that money back?
Yep, the government borrowed from the Social Security Trust Fund and replaced it with Treasury bonds. So when those bonds get redeemed, it comes straight out of general tax revenue. That's why people say it's not really a trust fund. It's just IOUs from the government to itself. If we don't reform it, payroll taxes alone won't cover benefits for younger generations. What's your fix for that?
You know, my solution to Social Security is get these good jobs over here, get our economy going, use everybody, the illegals, the legals, everybody get wages up and use some tariffs that will bring the revenue in for Social Security, bring the Social Security tax up. You know, if you're making 200,000, you should have to pay it. 300, you should have to pay it till we solve that problem, and make sure everybody pays into Social Security. And also, we maybe have to raise taxes, our high tax, the rich tax rate up, because we have one of the lowest ones in the world. So, what do you think of that?
So your plan is basically grow the economy hard, raise the wage base for Social Security, and hike taxes on the rich. Fair enough, but here's the thing. Even if you raise the cap to $300,000, it only closes about a third of the long-term shortfall. The real driver is demographics. Too many retirees, not enough workers. You can't tax your way out of that math forever. Wouldn't it make more sense to also slowly raise the retirement age as lifespans keep going up?
I have no problem with that. I'm 70, going on 71, and I'm working full time. But let me say, but one caveat with that, because I don't want to be mean. If you have a physical job out there like a carpenter, plumber, that's pretty tough.
You're right. That's a fair caveat. A plumber at 68 is a lot different than an accountant at 68. So maybe tier it. Keep the current age for physically demanding jobs, push it to 70 for desk jobs. That seems like a reasonable compromise. You good with means testing benefits too? So billionaires aren't pulling full Social Security checks?
I think so. As long as people are projected to get their money back out what they put in, I'm fine.
All right, that works. So we've got a deal on Social Security. Raise the wage cap, slowly increase retirement age with carve-outs for physical jobs, and means test the wealthy. Not bad for a MAGA guy and a liberal church guy. What's next on your list?
Next is to get this video down and upload it to YouTube. I thank you very much. It was fun, a little weird, but I liked it.
Anytime, Gary. It was fun. Go get that video up and let me know how it does.
I will. Okay, gracias, señor. Bye-bye.